Most people think life happens to them. They think bad luck, bad timing, or the wrong people are the reason they're stuck. But what if I told you it's not the situation? It's your beliefs about the situation that shape your reality. That may sound simple, but it's one of the most misunderstood truths out there. Because most people don't realize that their beliefs are running the show. Not just the show outside, like their job, money, or relationships, but the show inside. How they think, how they react, how they feel about themselves when things don't go their way. It's like walking around with invisible glasses, and those glasses are colored by your beliefs. If the lens says, "I'm not good enough," then every situation starts to look like rejection. If the lens says, "Life is hard," then even good things feel like they're about to fall apart. You don't see life clearly, you see it through the filter of your belief system. And here's the part that most people miss: you don't need to fix your life. You need to change the lens. You need to change the way you see yourself, the way you see others, and the way you see what's possible for you. That's the real work. That's the shift that changes everything. In this video, we're not just talking about mindset, we're talking about the foundation beneath your entire identity. We're diving deep into how beliefs form, how they control your reactions, and how changing them completely transforms your life, not just in theory, but in actual results. If you've been stuck repeating the same patterns, getting the same outcomes, and wondering why things never shift, this might be the real reason. And the best part, you don't have to force anything outside of you to change. You just have to start seeing the power you've been handing over to your beliefs. Let's keep it simple. The way you react to things says a lot about what you believe deep down. Not just what you say you believe, but what you actually feel is true on an emotional level. Think about it. If someone ignores your message, and your chest tightens, and your mind starts racing with thoughts like, "What did I do wrong?" or "I'm not important," that reaction didn't come from nowhere. It came from a belief, one that probably says, "I'm not worthy of attention," or "People always leave me." Your beliefs don't show up in calm moments. They show up when you're triggered. They show up when you're scared, disappointed, rejected, or uncomfortable. And that's your chance to spot them. Every time you feel intense emotion, especially fear, shame, or sadness, ask yourself, what would I have to believe about myself for this to feel true right now? That one question can change your whole life. Because once you name the belief, it's not running on autopilot anymore. You've caught it. You've pulled it out into the open. And when you do that, something amazing happens. You realize that most of your reactions aren't about the present moment at all. They're about old pain, old assumptions, old versions of you who didn't know better. And that's where your power comes back. When you can pause, notice your reaction, and spot the belief behind it, you're no longer stuck in it. You can respond differently. You can choose a new belief. And you can start shifting how you show up. Not from fear or defense, but from a place of clarity and choice. You don't have to be a prisoner of your emotions. You just need to become a student of your beliefs. Here's where it gets even deeper. Your beliefs don't just affect how you feel, they shape what you see and how you experience life. It's like being in a funhouse mirror, but instead of twisting your reflection, life is bending itself to match what you believe. If you believe people can't be trusted, you'll attract, or only notice, people who break your trust. If you believe you're not meant to be successful, you'll find ways to sabotage your progress without even knowing it. It's not that life is against you. It's that your beliefs are pulling in the same kind of experiences over and over, like a magnet. You might be changing your job, your city, even your relationships. But if the belief hasn't changed, the pattern won't either. You're stuck in an echo chamber. And this is why people get frustrated with self-help. Because they're trying to act different without believing different. They're trying to force new results from an old identity. But your results will always match your identity. And your identity is made of beliefs. Want different results? You don't need more action. You need a new story. This isn't about lying to yourself or pretending. It's about replacing beliefs that were never really yours to begin with. Beliefs you picked up from other people's fear, from painful moments, or from times when you didn't know your worth. It's time to stop agreeing with those stories. Because once you change the root belief, the fruit changes too. Most people think who they are is just how they are. But who you are is not set in stone. It's a story you've repeated so many times, it feels like truth. But the truth is, identity is just a mix of repeated thoughts, habits, and beliefs. You weren't born insecure. You weren't born scared of success. You weren't born thinking you weren't enough. Somewhere along the way, you learned those beliefs. And if you learned them, you can unlearn them. This is where real change begins. You get to rebuild your identity. You get to decide who you want to be. And then feed your mind the beliefs that match that version of you. This doesn't happen overnight, but it's not supposed to. You're literally reprogramming how you see yourself and how you see life. The way you speak to yourself, the things you expect from people, the way you carry yourself, all of it starts to shift when you start seeing yourself as someone different. So the question is, who are you when you drop the old beliefs? Who are you without the story that says you're not ready, or not worthy, or not lovable? That version of you is already inside. It's just waiting for permission to be believed in. So let's get practical. How do you actually change a belief that's been running your life for years? First, don't fight the old belief. Don't try to bury it, deny it, or positive think your way out of it. Just look at it, name it, be honest about it. Once it's clear, question it. Ask, is this belief actually true? Or is it just something I've gotten used to believing? Look for proof that it's not always true. Remember moments that didn't match the story. Even one example is enough to create a crack in the belief. Now, choose a new belief, but don't try to leap too far. Make it believable. If I'm worthless has been running your life, jumping straight to I'm amazing might feel fake. Instead, start with I'm learning to see my value. That's real. That's doable. Then, feed the new belief. Act like it's true. Speak like it's true. Treat yourself like it's true, even if it feels awkward at first. Over time, your nervous system will catch up, and life will start reflecting the new belief back to you. This is how transformation works, not with pressure, but with practice. Here's something that turns everything upside down. You don't actually need to change your life. You need to change the version of you that's living it, because your life is just a mirror. It reflects back the person you've been being, not just in your actions, but in your thoughts, your self-image, and your beliefs. When people say change your life, most of the time they mean change the external stuff. Get a better job, find a better partner, move to a better city, earn more money, look better, sound more confident, be more productive. But that's just surface level change. And even if you do change those things, if the person inside hasn't changed, you'll just bring the same old patterns to the new setup. That's why someone can get into a new relationship and still feel abandoned, or start a new business and still feel like a fraud, or move to a new city and still carry the same sadness, fear, or self-doubt. Because real change doesn't happen to you, it happens in you. That's what belief work is. It's not just about feeling good or thinking positive. It's about rebuilding the version of you that walks through life. It's about changing the source code that everything else runs on. Think about it like this. Imagine your beliefs are the software. If the software says I'm not enough, then everything that runs on that program, your relationships, your reactions, your goals, your habits, will reflect that one belief. So if you want to change the experience, you don't need to push harder. You need to rewrite the code. You shift from the version of you who's unsure, always doubting, constantly chasing approval, into the version of you who knows who they are. The version who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. The version who doesn't beg for validation because they already feel worthy on the inside. And here's the thing most people don't realize. That version of you already exists. It's not far away. It's not 5 years of healing or 10 years of therapy away. It's already inside of you, quiet, maybe buried, but still alive. The only thing standing between you and that version is belief. Belief that you can change. Belief that you're allowed to let go of the past. Belief that you don't have to carry shame or guilt forever. Belief that you can actually walk differently, talk differently, think differently, not because you're faking it, but because you're finally coming home to yourself. That version of you doesn't force. They don't chase. They don't shrink when things get uncomfortable. They decide how to respond because they know they're not at the mercy of their emotions anymore. But to become that version, you have to let go of the identity that's attached to the old belief. You have to stop clinging to the stories that say this is just how I am, or this is just how life works. Because every time you repeat those stories, you lock yourself into a version of you that isn't real anymore. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to let go of who you used to be. You're allowed to stop reacting the same way and start responding from a place of clarity and power. This is what inner work really means. It means you become so aware of your beliefs that you no longer live by default. You start living by design. You build new thoughts. You practice new self-talk. You walk into familiar situations, but you bring a new version of you into them. And when that happens, life responds differently. Not because the outside world suddenly got better, but because you did. People treat you different. Opportunities flow in easier. You say no to what you used to tolerate. You don't react to what used to trigger you. And you begin to feel this quiet power. Not loud, not ego-based, but solid, grounded, real. So if there's one truth I want you to walk away with today, it's this: life isn't waiting to change. You are. And when you change the way you see yourself, when you change your beliefs, life will have no choice but to reflect that change right back to you. Because it always does. You don't change your life by chasing it. You change your life by becoming the version of you who no longer needs to. And when that shift happens, you stop surviving your life and you start living it. So if this hit something deep, if you saw yourself in any part of this, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one belief you're ready to let go of? Because just naming it is powerful. It's the first step in becoming the version of you who doesn't live by it anymore. And if this helped you see things differently, make sure you stick around. We're just getting started.